Hello everyone. Today I have a book review. I finally got this book from Korea and I just finished it. And the book is The Courage to be Disliked. I think that's the English title, but as the book is written in Japanese and Korean and Japanese are similar in syntax, I wanted to read it as close to the source language as possible. So I read it in Korean. And now to start with, this book is 90% like good. Now, what makes the 10% less so in my opinion is my opinion. What's really important in when we are discussing like truths and best practices and such, it's always important to remember there's no rule set in stone by itself. Everything is relative to another, right? So when I say just punch them, it sounds like violent and bad advice. But if the context is mixed martial arts or like really dire self defense situation, then it makes sense. Now, if I tell you to just shut up and do it, it can be very shaming in certain circumstances. Like, stop complaining and just do it. But if you are trying to overcome your karma, and if you are actively and deliberately trying to develop that skill of working against your karmic urges, then this advice is perfect because there is no magical way to make things easier when you're dealing with karma. You just have to shut up and do it, right? In fact, that's what I'm like doing every morning. I wake up at 6 a.m. and then I bow 108 times. I don't want to do it. It sucks. My body aches everywhere, but I just shut up and do it. So, just like that, this concept in is a Buddhist concept called in Korean 무유정법, and it means there is no law that is set in stone by itself, basically. And so, this means like every like supposedly good thing sermon and theory and blah 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 is all contextual. But the only thing that remains as the truth is the Buddhist concept of the three. Uh, I don't know what it's in English. It's called 삼법 in Korean, and I think it's the three marks of existence. And now we are going to actually talk about this book, especially the shortcomings of this book, um, because again, 90% of this book is excellent. In fact, if you are new to self development, this is a very good introduction to self development. The book is written in dialogue format and it doesn't go that deep into theories and concepts. It's more of a conversational kind of a book and it's casual. There aren't that many difficult concepts and things laying around, so it's a very good introductory book. But now, the 10% are that I'm gonna discuss is all from the perspective of number one, my personal perspective, and number two, Buddhist philosophy. Okay, so the primary premise of the book is that all problems emerge from human relationships. But that is part of the picture and not the whole. Now, what makes this point particularly interesting is the book actually answered that shortcoming, but it chooses to present present it in the kind of a flawed way. Now, what I mean by that is the problem with everything is less about human to human relationships, but it's more about your expectations and attachment to the expectations when you apply it to other people. So, when I go to a hike and I enjoy the mountain and the beaches and it's good, I do it for myself. I don't expect anything out of the nature, right? I don't do things for nature, right? Like, if I appreciate the mountains, is the mountains gonna be really appreciative of that and gonna thank me with more beautiful views? No, mountain's just a mountain. When I look at the waves and I'm just thankful that I'm here experiencing this, does the beach hear that and listen to that and give me more beautiful waves? No, the beach just is, right? Now, with other natural things, it's easy for me to understand this, but for human beings, I have expectations. If I tell my wife I love her, I have implicit expectations that she'll love me back. When I do good things at work, I apply attachment to now I'm gonna be promoted because I did a good job. But those expectations don't necessarily come true because they're not controlled by me. And now I choose to expect out of them, and then I get disappointed, right? So it's less about human interactions, but it's more about expectations and the attachment to those expectations. Now, attachment to success. Like if I'm running a business and I'm running my YouTube channel, I'm putting a lot of work into my YouTube channel. I upload videos daily, so I have to hit 1,000 subscribers like every day, like pretty soon, right? But I don't. I inevitably don't because I don't control that. But if I expect YouTube to somehow favor me in the algorithm, that's gonna be the root of my suffering. So it's not human to human relationships. Now, what's interesting is that in the later portion of the book explicitly says, don't expect rewards out of things because that's what invites suffering. So, I don't understand why the book didn't go the extra mile of saying all of the problems in your life originate from expectations and attachment to expectations. And the book specifically talks about like being rewarded for things. So that I think is one of the major shortcomings in the book. And now another sort of shortcoming I believe is that there's a lot of cause and effect relationships that are very very specific in the book. And overall the book makes again this is I think kind of weird. The book talks about how some relationships need a little bit of distance in order to fully appreciate it. So the book encourages you to stop trying to fulfill the needs of others, which is good, and just listen to your own needs and just be honest to them, which is good. That will give you a little bit more distance to observe things in distance, and it'll make you feel more neutral. Therefore, now you can form actual meaningful relationships with the people. And now that's all like right? But again, that's one layer of the greater concept called, again, it's a Buddhist terminology. In Korean it's called 불생 불사, which means there is no life and there is no death. From the perspective of a very short time frame, a firefly lives and dies, right? So now it all happens in the span of a day. So if the firefly was happened to be born in a summer day, then the firefly would never know of winter, right? So from that experience, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as winter, right? And if I never visit the southern hemisphere, then I'm always gonna imagine that the world always has the same seasons as the northern hemisphere. So my lack of awareness, especially in the space-time continuum, gives attachment to these mirages called birth and death. And that is what's meant. So when you look at a wave, it looks like this one individual wave births and then dies and then births and dies, right? But when you like, no wave is unique, right? So when you look at it from that short time frame, like so many waves are born and dead. But now, when you look at it from the grand perspective, it's just the whole body of water interacting with gravity, and the waves are just like you carry your water in a container and you walk around in your living room. It's the same thing that's happening, right? So we get caught up in these things and start attaching our suffering to it because we lack the spatial and time-based awareness. We can't distance ourselves from it. So that's the greater picture that's provided by Buddhist philosophy. But the book goes into very specifics about certain things as if they were conditional. And now that, I think, again, is really interesting because it hits all the right marks, but it just doesn't go the extra mile of showing you the general awakening knowledge. And the cause and effect relationships explored in this book are a lot about, oh yeah, you're suffering, like this happens because you believe that, this happens because you believe that. And so the book gives you very specific tasks, right? There's a mission in life that you have to fulfill, and like in order to be truly happy, you have to do blah 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 blah. But those things, again, are only in the context. They're completely valid in the context of this book. But what I am saying is that context is a subset of the greater awakening truth, right? And that's what is called in Buddhist philosophy the cause and effect relationship, right? So every time there is no right way to live life. There is no wrong way to live life. But it's just that whenever you do something, something will transpire as a result. So, if I have a seed and I have a really good soil, and I plant it and I hydrate it okay, and I give it sufficient amount of sunlight, I can't prevent it from blooming when everything is perfect. When the conditions for growth are met, I can't stop it, right? So, I make individual choices every day in life. And the choices bring about bunch of results. And now, the book talks about lots of interpersonal relationships, right? Now, and the book says there are like personal tasks that you have to fulfill. The tasks are specifically tasks of work, task of friendship and relationships, and the task of I think love, right? So from the context of this book, those are the three missions that you have to fulfill in order to have a meaningful life. And you know what? Like when you look at it from that perspective, it's all good. But the thing is, in the grand scheme of life, it's just that when you fulfill those, you're gonna have a certain type of life as a result. You can make other choices and have other directions in life, but you just have to understand that they're gonna lead to different results. I can't plant beans and expect corns to grow. But it doesn't mean that beans are bad. It doesn't mean that corn is good, right? It's just that every choice in life is just different in its own way, and it's meaningful in its own way. Therefore, it is good relative to some perspectives, it is bad relative to certain perspectives, but by itself, it is inherently void. So, the tasks of life that you have to fulfill, they are good compared to the antitheses that are presented in this book. But in the greater scheme of life in the universe, it just is. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing bad about it. It's just one way and one model of viewing the world. So that again is the grand picture, and the book hits all the marks to sufficiently get to this conclusion, but it doesn't. So I just wanted to make sure that I covered that. And in the very later part of the book, this is my last point. It says happiness is contributing to society, or some translation of that, right? But true happiness, I think, is in two flavors. There is happiness that is bound to reincarnation, and there is true detached, unbound happiness. Happiness bound to reincarnation is conditional. So, I have this pimple in my neck. It fucking hurts. Therefore, I'm sad. So, when this goes away, I'm gonna be happy, right? But another day, I'm gonna have other skin troubles. I'm gonna have maybe another acne, or like like my eczema might return, or I might get a rash or something, right? Then I'm gonna be unhappy again. And then when that goes away, I'm gonna be happy again, right? This is cyclical happiness that is bound to reincarnation. True unbound happiness doesn't depend on anything. And that is as easy as not suffering. When you stop suffering and when you stop bullying yourself, that is all you need in order to just arrive at unbound happiness. So, I want to say that contribution happiness is bound happiness. So when there is a point in your life when you can't be contributing, you're gonna feel bad. So this book will advocate for you to align back to this version of happiness. But again, it's another form of reincarnation. And in Buddhist philosophy, our ultimate goal is to transcend the reincarnation, right? To transcend the wheel and the consequences of karma. And to do that, you just completely stop playing the game of cycles and reincarnation. Which, again, the book does cover. It talks in depth about competitive mindsets. And in order to truly escape it, you just stop playing the game of competition and stop seeing other people as competitors in the same game. So, this book is kind of perplexing to me because it hits all the right spots. 90% of it is excellent, but the 10% doesn't reach, and it easily could have. So that's the conflicting part of the book. But anyway, the book is excellent. Don't let my criticism of it deter you from reading it if you are interested in self-development. But because of the aforementioned flaws, if you do really want to get into deeper self-development, I would recommend studying Buddhist philosophy. Or since I talk about that in this channel all the time, check out my other videos or subscribe to my channel for other videos about Buddhist philosophy and how they can apply to your life. Thank you for the recommendation, Ryo Chiba, and if you have recommendations for me, I will be happy to take them. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.